Welcome back to the channel. Step up to the firing line with me for a minute. Look inside your range bag, your safe, or that dusty shelf in your garage. I guarantee you have a box of it sitting right there. We all do. It is the undisputed gateway drug of the American firearms community. It is the cartridge that taught most of us trigger control, sight alignment, and the sweet smell of burnt powder. I am talking about the legendary .22 long rifle. Most folks look at a 500-round brick and see nothing but a cheap afternoon of ringing steel. They treat it like a toy. They think it is completely figured out. But as someone who has spent years diagnosing malfunctions and studying terminal ballistics, I can tell you right now that you are only seeing the surface. Underneath that waxy lead bullet is over a century and a half of complex history, frustrating engineering, and some brutal ballistic realities. Today, we are putting the most popular cartridge on planet Earth under the microscope. We are breaking down the 10 realities about .22 long rifle ammunition that rarely get discussed at the gun counter. Let's get into it. Number 10. It is a ghost of the black powder era. Starting off at number 10, we have to look at the timeline. This cartridge is the absolute heavyweight champion of industry survival. The .22 Rimfire is literally the oldest self-contained metallic cartridge still rolling off assembly lines today. Its grandfather, the .22 Short, was born in 1857 for the original Smith & Wesson No. 1 revolver. The .22 long rifle that we actually shoot today hit the scene back in 1887. Think about that timeline. Every time you rack the bolt on your modern rimfire rig, you are operating a 19th century black powder era design. It outlived the .44 Henry Flat. It buried the .56-56 Spencer. Obviously, the factories upgraded the powder to smokeless and modernized the priming compounds. But the architecture of that folded copper rim is a direct artifact of the Civil War era. It is a true piece of living history. But that ancient design also brings some severe engineering bottlenecks that we still deal with today. Number 9. The Carbon Sludge Factor. Moving to number 9, let's talk about why your hands and your bolt face look like a coal mine after a heavy range session. The blunt truth is that bulk .22 long rifle is engineered to run dirty. It is the mandatory tax we pay for dirt-cheap trigger time. When you shoot centerfire, like a standard 9mm, you have a copper-jacketed projectile and relatively clean burning powder. Bulk rimfire is totally different. You are launching raw, unjacketed lead down a steel tube. To prevent catastrophic lead fouling in your rifling, the factories coat those projectiles in a heavy wax or polymer lubricant. When you vaporize that wax under the extreme heat of fast-burning, high-volume powder, you get a highly abrasive carbon sludge. That black, gritty paste gets blown right back into your receiver. It gums up extractors and binds up firing pins. It is not a flaw in your weapon system. It is the chemical reality of how we get affordable ammunition. Number 8. The Centerfire Reliability Gap. At number 8, we address the absolute biggest liability of the platform. It is that sickening click when you are expecting a bang. Due to its fundamental architecture, a rimfire cartridge will never, ever reach the reliability baseline of a modern centerfire round. It all comes down to the primer. A centerfire cartridge uses a highly engineered, self-contained primer cup pressed firmly into the case head. Rimfire manufacturing is basically a controlled gamble. The factory takes a wet priming compound, drops it into the empty brass case, and spins the case in a high-speed centrifuge. The centrifugal force pushes that wet paste into the hollow rim. But if that centrifuge leaves a microscopic air void, or if the paste dries unevenly, you get a dead spot. If your firing pin strikes that exact dead spot, the gun goes click. This inherent manufacturing variance is exactly why I will never recommend a .22 long rifle as a primary concealed carry or home defense option. The ignition system is just too compromised. Number 7. The Unintentional Suppressor Host. Let's shift to something positive for number 7. If you own a silencer, the .22 long rifle is the greatest tool in your arsenal. It is a thermodynamic cheat code. When a gun fires, you hear the explosion of expanding gases, and if the bullet is traveling faster than the speed of sound, you hear a miniature sonic boom. Standard velocity 22 long rifle clocks in around 1100 feet per second out of a standard rifle barrel. That is supersonic, and it will give you a sharp downrange crack. But if you load that exact same standard velocity ammo into a compact pistol, everything changes. The shorter barrel does not give the powder enough time to fully burn or build maximum pressure. The bullet exits the muzzle before it can break the sound barrier. It naturally becomes subsonic. You do not need to buy expensive, specialized subsonic loads. Just thread a can onto your compact pistol, run cheap standard velocity ammo, and enjoy true whisper-quiet performance. Number 6. Dimensional danger zones. Number 6 is a critical safety briefing for anyone running custom or match-grade hardware. We assume all 22 long rifle ammo is cut to the exact same dimensions. That is dangerously false. Take a look at hypervelocity loads like the CCI Stinger. To achieve those screaming velocities, the engineers actually stretched the brass case slightly longer than the standard spec and seated a shorter, lighter projectile inside. If you run that Stinger in a standard Ruger 1022, it feeds and fires just fine. But if you drop that elongated case into a tight, match-grade Bent's chamber on a precision bolt gun, you have a problem. The longer brass will jam violently into the rifling before the action fully goes into battery. When the firing pin drops, you can experience a massive pressure spike because the bullet is already wedged into the lands and grooves. Always check your owner's manual before feeding hypervelocity rounds into a precision chamber. Before we hit the top 5, I want to pose a question to the community. Every single rimfire barrel is unique. What shoots like a laser beam in my rifle might pattern like a shotgun in yours. What is the one specific load that your favorite range gun absolutely digests flawlessly? Drop your go-to 22 long rifle ammo in the comments below. I want to see what is running best for you guys out in the wild. Number 5. The Harmonic Lottery. Coming in at number 5 is the maddening reality of lot-to-lot variants. Rimfire ammunition is incredibly inconsistent. Because it is produced by the millions on razor-thin profit margins, the factory tolerances have a lot of wiggle room. The powder charge weights, the bullet diameters, and the primer distribution fluctuate wildly from one production run to the next. You might buy a box of ammo today that punches one ragged hole at 50 yards. Next month, you buy the exact same brand, in the exact same box, and your groups open up to 3 inches. Serious competitive shooters know this pain intimately. They will buy sample boxes from 20 different factory lot numbers, test them all on paper, find the one specific lot that matches their barrel harmonics, and then buy out the supplier's entire inventory of that exact lot code. You are not just testing a brand, you are testing a highly specific batch of manufacturing. Number 4. The Squib Load Trap. At number 4, we need to talk about primer-only ammunition, like the Aguila Colibri. These are incredibly unique cartridges because they contain absolutely zero gunpowder. The projectile is propelled entirely by the explosive force of the primer paste. They are remarkably quiet, making them popular for training new shooters or handling pest control in tight spaces. But they carry a massive catastrophic risk. Because the pressure is so incredibly low, firing a primer-only round through a standard-length rifle barrel is playing Russian roulette with a squib load. The bullet will often lose momentum and lodge itself directly in the middle of the bore. If you do not notice the distinct change in recoil and sound, and you rack another round behind it, firing that second shot will destroy your barrel and potentially cause serious injury. Primer-only rounds belong in revolvers and very short pistol barrels, period. Number 3. The catalyst for the modern patrol rifle. Number 3 brings us to a dark chapter in American law enforcement history. The .22 long rifle played a pivotal role in the infamous 1997 North Hollywood bank robbery. When the initial patrol officers responded, they were heavily outgunned by suspects wearing custom-made heavy body armor. One of the first officers engaged the suspects with his service 9mm, and when that failed, he transitioned to his backup weapon, a small .22 long rifle revolver. Those rimfire rounds were completely useless against the ballistic plating. That horrific, prolonged firefight was the final straw for police departments nationwide. It exposed the terminal limitations of standard police loadouts and became the primary catalyst for issuing 5.56 patrol rifles to beat cops across the country. It is a grim reminder of why caliber selection matters when lives are on the line. Number 2. The Ammo Drought Phenomenon. For our runner-up at number 2, we address the economics of panic. Whenever there is a political shift, a national crisis, or an election year, .22 long rifle is the very first caliber to vanish from the shelves. It is a mix of human psychology and factory logistics. Psychologically, shooters want to secure volume. During a panic, dropping $100 on 2 boxes of .308 feels inadequate. But spending that same money to stack 1,000 rounds of Rimfire in the safe triggers a massive dopamine hit of preparedness. On the logistics side, Rimfire is a very low-margin product for the manufacturers. When the supply chain strains, ammunition plants immediately retool their assembly lines to pump out high-margin, high-demand calibers like 9mm and 5.56 to maximize corporate revenue. So the demand skyrockets exactly when the supply gets choked off. Number 1. The terminal paradox. Finally, we arrive at the number 1 most misunderstood reality of the .22 long rifle. After discussing its archaic design, its dirty nature, and its reliability issues, we face a chilling paradox. It is an absolutely terrible man-stopper, but it is a profoundly lethal cartridge. Let me break that down. In a defensive scenario, you need stopping power, the ability to inflict massive hydraulic shock or central nervous system disruption to end a threat instantly. The .22 long rifle cannot reliably do that. However, because that soft, unjacketed lead projectile is moving relatively slowly and lacks structural integrity, it does terrible things once it enters biological tissue. It destabilizes almost immediately. Instead of punching a clean channel, the bullet tumbles, yaws, and violently deflects off bone structure. It creates an erratic, unpredictable wound track that causes massive internal hemorrhaging. It is an absolute nightmare for trauma surgeons to track and repair. I say this not to endorse it for concealed carry, but to command respect for the platform. There is no such thing as a harmless firearm. This little training cartridge has a very dark, very lethal capability that demands our utmost discipline on the range. The .22 long rifle is a total contradiction. It is a piece of 19th century engineering that still dominates the 21st century market. It is cheap enough to shoot all day, but complex enough to keep ballisticians arguing for decades. Understanding the actual mechanics, limitations, and realities of your ammunition makes you a more capable, responsible American gun owner. If this breakdown changed the way you look at your ammo stash, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your thoughts. Your engagement tells the algorithm that this community values real, unfiltered firearms education. Until next time, stay sharp, watch your six, and I will see you on the firing line.